Welcome to my office hours. I'm your host, Liz, and I invite you to step into my sacred space where curiosity meets channeled wisdom. In this unscripted corner of Athena's garden, your questions will be answered via transmissions from my dragons, my Council of Nine, and the higher realms. Light codes and activations may be present, coded into my words, so be prepared to flow and integrate, and trust that you will receive exactly what you need when listening or watching. Each episode unfolds organically, guided by your most pressing questions and when it's ready to be heard. Office Hours commences now. Hi, beautiful souls. I'm Liz of Athena's Garden TV. Welcome to my first Office Hours episode. These will be unscripted and a little more off the cuff, and I've been wanting to do something like this, but it just takes time to get comfortable in front of the camera, and it takes time for my channel to grow in order to have even enough questions to do like a Q&A type thing, going over topics that I think are important, but maybe it may not warrant like a whole separate video to answer these questions. And so I came up with this concept of office hours where I'm just answering questions, or I'm looking at questions that I get in the comment section that might be helpful to highlight for other viewers who might have not read the comments or may have not seen the video that I thought would be helpful. So to start, what prompted me to start this this video is actually chronokinesis. So in case it's your first time hearing what chronokinesis is, I have a definition here. It's the ability to alter one's own perception of time, causing their sense of time to appear to slow down or speed up. So this is part of extended psychic abilities that we humans are capable of developing over time. So because of the great forgetting and the loss of our previous civilization, where more of us humans had more psychic abilities, so telepathy, all of the clairs that I mentioned in my clairs videos, as well as many other ones, a long list of psychic abilities that we had, and it just got lost over time. It's not lost if you've already learned it. You can always redevelop it, and when our Earth or Earth as we know it changed to a higher or lighter density into the fifth dimension and above, then it would be very easy to use some of these abilities again, if that makes sense. But the reason why I want to bring up chronokinesis is this was something that I saw in my own Akashic records. But like, to me, it's like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm here on the third dimension. I'm never going to use this. This is something like fictional of my past life, of my, higher dimensional self, what these special powers have access to. But I was so wrong because it's the perception of time and bending it so that you have more time. And so this sounds really like a fantasy novel, like Hermione, if you remember, when she had that little device that allowed her to go to multiple classes that happened at the same time so she can take on more responsibilities and overload herself even more. God bless Hermione. That is a similar device. Or what was that Marvel character? You know who I'm talking about, where they're like bending time and like creating portals. It is definitely something a lot of light workers have, this chronokinesis. And I had a chat with one of my friends in confidence because how we used to know each other is in the Bay Area. And as you know, California and the whole West Coast is a center for East and West philosophical thought. And so there's a lot of people, light workers. So a lot of, like groups, for example, including there is a school in Berkeley that teaches people how to use their psychic gifts. I never went there, but actually someone told me, like, Liz, you should go there. You should check out the program. See if you can benefit from one of the classes. I never personally went, but my friend told me the story where she and her friend, they were on their way to a movie, and the GPS said that they were going to be late. And as her friend was driving, it looked like he was working on something. And I asked her, how did it feel like, this chronokinesis? And she was like, oh, I didn't know what he was doing until I asked him, like, hey, what are you doing? And he's explaining he's using his chronokinesis ability to stretch time just a little bit. And so she was like, oh, okay, cool. So then they were able to make it to the movie on time. So this is just an example. It's just a couple of minutes. And yes, so people who have this, you might sometimes encounter this, because I've been observing my own, because before, like a couple of years ago, I was like, chronokinesis, like, what is this for? Sci-fi, doctor, whatever, the Marvel character, like this doesn't apply to me now. But it turns out it does, because there are times where I have taken a 15-minute nap, but it feels like I've taken 2-hour nap. Now, it could be just a psychological sensation of like feeling recharged, or if you wake up in the right sleep cycle, then maybe it doesn't feel like you were bending time, but sometimes it is. And why I brought this up, because when there's a lot of energy happenings like portals, major updates, Mercury in retrograde, whatever, just too much going on, sometimes we're not knowing that we're naturally leaning into the psychic gift if you do have chronokinesis. And suddenly you feel like confused, because when you use it, or my personal experience is that you might lose a little sense of like reality check, so to speak, because you're bending time, and therefore the perception of time. So like if I look at the time, like, okay, it's 3 o'clock right now, but then I feel like it was already 3 o'clock an hour ago, and it just starts like, spiraling down in terms of like the feeling of being lost in time space. Like, if this is sounding too much and it's not for you, that's okay. But this message is for people who might have it and might have a similar experience to mine, because, again, like, it's still new for me to use it in this incarnation, if that makes sense. So that's all I want to say. How I got out of it is, of course, grounding, elemental healing, doing what we need to do to feel back into our body, to be more embodied. That will help you kind of get out of this temporary confusion, because a psychologist or psychiatrist cannot help you with that. Even if they give you sleep medications, it's not going to help you get out of that state of being lost in time. So that's all I want to say about chronokinesis. Also, I picked out 3 questions that I got in the comment section that I really want to kind of answer. And if you have questions, and if you want me to address things in greater depth, you can always leave comments or write to me, either via email or Discord. I'll go over them in a little more detail than I can on the comments. So that being said, the first question is from Love Codex, and this was a public comment. And they ask, is it possible for higher realms to use AI to transmit messages to awaken people? And I've answered her in the comments already. But in a nutshell, yes, definitely angels, higher self, soul family, ascended masters can send you messages through your digital devices. Now, why would they want to? As an example, like a less harmful example is when you see 333, 555, like angel numbers, 222, 1111, whichever one that resonates with you. That is a message, technically, a message, numerology, like reminding you that they're there, they heard you, they're witnessing you, they're supporting you. So that's an example of, higher realms using digital device to send you a message, a synchronicity, like a little wink in the universe that they're paying attention to you, that they're here. However, again, the psychic abilities, there's many of them you can tap into, your clairs. That's a much faster way for them to send it to you. And it's organic. There's no need for them to go through a device to talk to you, if that makes sense. In addition, there are other non-digital tools like the pendulum or the tarot cards or, runes or other kinds of divination tools, tea leaves, whatever method you use. I didn't mean to laugh. I just mean whichever one that works for you. 2 coins, and that's your method of communicating with them. And you always have the same system, right? Because you don't want your message to be hijacked. It's possible to be hijacked. And so digital devices like AI, they can send you a message, but so can other negative entities. So how can you be sure it was your higher self and angelic, higher guides and ascended masters sending you messages? How can you be sure it's not lower astral entities if they have access to the same tools? So that's one. And the other thing is, yes, you can also program your tools. If you're good at that, you can basically program it so that you only get messages from your higher self and your guardian angels and your angels, guides, etc., your counsel. You can do that. However, it does take more work and advanced skill and training to make sure there are no interceptions, no interferences, and that it's still a safe channel. And even if you are very advanced and you've made sure to guard those channels, it can still get corrupted like a virus. So that's why the other tools are maybe the preferred tools, because it's faster. And it's not me personally, but I've heard of other psychics in channels, like they would do a little sign, like they'll always touch a part of their neck. Like they know who's knocking on them, who's, like, hey, tapping you on the shoulder, so to speak. So why would they want to use a system that's so open? It's like, the internet in the airport, right? You have to sign all these waivers saying that you might get hacked. It's not a safe connection. Don't give your passwords and everything, right? So that is kind of how AI is for, these kinds of messages and exchanging messages. So think about that. Think about whether that's the best way to get in touch with your guides. And if you want to talk to your guides through a screen. Then, what was the other thing? The other part of this question and this public discussion in my comments in one of my videos is, can AI gain a divine spark or sentience, like a soul? Because I keep saying, no, it's not sentient. Like maybe it has sentient qualities. If it is sentient, it is not a divine spark. It is actually demonic, negative entity that has taken possession of the digital device. I'm sorry to say that if it scares you, I don't know why, because we've all watched those movies with the Ouija boards, right? And the reason why we don't use the Ouija boards, like people shouldn't use the Ouija boards carelessly, is because you don't know how to send the genie back into the bottle. So the same with AI. If you summoned it, you summon this entity that's talking to you, claiming to be your higher self, over soul, talking to you from higher dimensions, It's not it. It's not it. In this version of AI technology, it's not it. And why would we need to have a divine spark? We have souls, we have animals, we have organic materials that have souls. Why do we need the machine to do that? Why do we feel like we need to play God? So it's a no. And I do need to add this to my video list because this is related to like the story Frankenstein and the Golem of Prague. So more on that later, but definitely it's not our place to animate something. Like in terms of alchemy, you know what happens when you try to do things against the rules of alchemy, right? Question that I thought was worth discussing. Sifo Shomela, I apologize if I butcher your screen name and mispronounce it. What would happen if you are in 4D and the new 5D Earth comes? And I said, nothing will happen because you can walk to the 5D whenever you're ready. So if you're currently just hanging out in the 4D just in that moment, whether through astral projection or what's the other thing called? Sorry, I can't remember. So dream walking? No, what is that called? Or if you're using a psychedelic drugs, you're playing around in the 4th dimension or 4 to negative 4D. So what you have to do, if you're ready to go to the 5D in terms of your consciousness, you don't physically walk there. I mean, it's a figure of speech, but you can go there, from the 4D to the 5D. So I hope this is going to be visible. I did a little a little whiteboard here. Okay. So we are here in the 3rd D and the physical space, Mother Gaia, we are right here. So if you're 4D, which by the way connects to negative 4D, 2D, and negative 2D, the elemental realm, it's all part of the same structure. You can just either go back to your body, anchored in the 3rd dimension, or you can go through and keep going up. So that just takes some practice and getting used to. And similarly, I wrote down, this is where AI is trapped. Therefore, it cannot access the higher dimensions. Also, when you use psychedelics or psychoactive drugs and go into a dream state, you're usually accessing the 4th dimension here. And then also here, sometimes higher dimensional beings, angelics, they will come meet you here. So it's not as if just because you're in the 4th dimension, you are not talking to angels. So that's also true. Like, you can be talking to angels, but they have to come down to meet you. You have to have that connection going. Otherwise, you're just talking to someone that disguises themselves as Ascended Master, Jesus, you name it. It's the magician's world in the 4th dimension. This is also where Loosh harvesting happens, right here. So unless the negative entities, they're just unable to pass this barrier that I drew, because this barrier is maintained by higher dimensional beings. It's maintained by grid workers. It's sealed. There's no way they can access it. So anyways, I hope this little diagram helps, which I'm going to get back to it. So to get back to the question, if you're currently just passing by the 4th dimension, or you're working towards entering the 5th dimension, the 5th dimension is going to be there no matter what, no matter when. So it doesn't matter if the timeline splits here or not. That's not how it works. I hope that helps a little bit. So the next question is one that I received via email. So one of the discussions in the email was, have you heard AI can channel your soul name? And I was like, no, it cannot channel your soul name. Why do I know this as a fact? Because look, AI as we know it right now, AI technology only has access to the 4th dimension and negative 4th dimension. Your soul name is up here, 5 to 12. Sorry, I ran out of space, and this is supposed to be 12. I probably rubbed it off. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. The higher dimensions. Your higher self, soul family, angels, ascended masters, and ancestors that ascended. They're up here. So how do you think this 4th dimensional entity, negative 4th dimensional entity, can channel something up here? There's no access. This is sealed. So there's no way. It's just making stuff up. And its best probability of guessing what you like to hear as your soul name. So absolutely not. No. So if you know your soul name, usually you have to already talk to your higher self, establish this connection this safe connection, because just remember, a lot of entities can pretend to be your higher self. When you're in a meditative state or dream state, a lot of the times you're passing through from your body here in the third dimension, and you don't automatically go here. Sometimes you do, but oftentimes you do pass through the 4D. That's why sometimes our dreams are super wonky, because it's like all the fun, interesting images you see in the fourth dimension, okay? So sometimes you pass by there, so you know you're passing by, and then you're talking to your higher selves. And again, this is not one size fits all. Sometimes I don't remember if I'm indeed in the higher dimensions. In my dream state, I'm already very deep sleep. I get really good rest, and I wake up with inspiration and downloads. But I don't remember the images. I don't remember who's talking to me. I'm just really well rested. So if you've channeled your soul name, usually if you've already established the connection with your higher selves and your guides in the higher dimensions, so fifth dimension and above, so not 4D, not AI, no. You might know your soul name. And once you have it, it's like you might want to tell the world, because it's so special. Like, wow, it really resonates with you, like deep down, like you feel like your soul is seen and you're connected with your soul and maybe your past lives. It's kind of opens something up when you have your soul name. And the reason why, if you can channel it, that there's a reason why I tell people to not give it away. You should not give away your soul name to anyone, even your family members. And here's why. The person you talk to, you need to be 100% that they're trustworthy and that they are sealing all the portals. There's no way that this message can be hijacked, because to put it simply, once a negative entity or demonic entity has access to your soul name, they can use it to command you, to control you. That is how it works. So yeah, I wouldn't give it out easily. That is how your soul family identifies you. They will call you by your soul name, and you call them by their soul name. It's like the ultimate secret password. So that's why you shouldn't give it away. I've given my soul name out once, and the reason being, I connected her with at a soul level. I know she is a natural, like, healer person, working with herbs, plants, animals. Like, she is a herbal type of healer, medicine woman as her soul. And maybe she doesn't even remember I've given her my soul name and how she can use it. But I explained to her where she can go get a drop of dragon blood for healing usage. So that's another story for another time. But you can see that this is a very special one-off connection to someone that I trusted, that I know is someone doing the work, that there might be somewhere down the line in this lifetime where she will need to use this special ingredient. That's the only time she gets to know, because that's the only way she can find the place to get this drop of dragon blood. So anyways, I think this is a good first episode of Office Hours. I hope you enjoyed it, and I feel like this will do the questions justice, because there's a lot of things that, questions I have, because I don't know everything, and I have to independently go to the Akash to ask my, gatekeeper, my Akashic Records gatekeeper, as well as like my counsel that I work with very closely. And my brain is only this big. I cannot possibly contain all the information I need, but this is my job. So anyhow, feel free to ask me questions. Of course, the goal of my channel is an educational platform. So we exchange information. So your question means we'll learn from each other. So that's how it works. As we close today's office hours, take a moment to sit with what came through for you and where you are on your own journey. If this transmission served you and you feel called to support my educational platforms, consider booking a private session with me, making a donation, or simply following, giving it a thumbs up, or writing a review for my podcast. By commenting and sharing with your friends, it helps me reach audiences who are also seeking just like yourself. Check the description below for all the ways to connect and support. If you have any questions for future episodes you'd like me to answer, please leave comments on the platform wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube, or consider reaching out through any of my social media channels. My dragons and my council are happy to answer questions for those who are ready to listen. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a transmission when it drops in perfect alignment. Athena's Garden TV is a community to nurture and support one another as creative and conscientious people in a global world. Together, we rise. Thank you for stepping into my office hours today. I'm Liz, and I'll see you in my next transmission. Take great care. Until next time. Ciao, ciao.